and welcome to another episode of We're Not Wizards. My name's Richard, and joining me tonight is a gentleman by the name of Henry Jasper from Grublin Games. And the title of the show is going to be Don't Grublin Around, just sit there and work out the perfect crime.
Sorry, so let's not grubbling around.
Yeah.
Okay. I've never used it, never heard it used in that kind of context before.
Okay.
That's okay.
There's a first for everything.
Yeah, it's absolutely fine. Hello, my name is Henry Jasper. I'm from Grublin Games.
So, first thing, most importantly, what are you drinking?
Yeah, I've got a beautiful, hot, steaming cup of tea right in front of me, actually.
That's fantastic. I myself have gone down the smoothie route. I've decided to mash up a whole pile of bananas and apples and strawberries and everything else I could get my hands on, and it's sitting to me, waiting to have a nice long drink. Now, yeah, so I'm looking forward to drinking on that. But
Sounds
more importantly, nice. How are you doing yourself?
Yeah, I'm very well. It's sunny down here. I'm relaxed. I'm well. Just working my ass off at the moment. But in a happy way. I'm happy to work my ass off at the moment. Yeah, that's where it's at.
That's good. Now, for those who haven't listened to the show before, the reason, well, first of all, thank you for joining us. The reason that we do this is because we wholeheartedly believe there is simply not enough podcasts out there about board games. I've checked all over iTunes and other such places and just cannot find any. And the other reason that we do this is because we like to speak to designers out there who are pretty much working on their projects, finding out a little bit more about them. So me and Henry have kind of been chatting a little bit back and forward. And so I thought it was time to get him on so he could have a chat. So what we like to do in these situations is we like to find out a little bit more about how you got into the hobby. So we like to have a little stare back in the past before planning a caper in the present and looking forward to the perfect crime in the future. So do you want to tell us a little bit about your history?
I can certainly give it a go.
Okay.
So I'm part of a large family, and I'm kind of at the younger end of the spectrum, and I think I've taken so much kind of input, culturally especially, from my oldest brother. My oldest brother was into D&D, and so it was essential that I was into D&D from a very young age. So he'd be playing with his friends, and I'd be making a nuisance of myself and being kind of thrown out the room and things, from, I don't know, like the age of 7, 8, that kind of thing. That then turned into just reading loads of Doctor Who books and sci-fi novels and fantasy and all this kind of thing. I didn't actually get into board games until, I don't know, I would say about like mid-20s actually. So I did the computer games thing from, I don't know, like 95 to about 2001. And I kind of really felt that computer games were plateauing and I wasn't really seeing anything new and I was just kind of tired of it. So that then kind of turned into, but I obviously had this thing about games. I kind of loosely, not in a formalized way, not in a, this is the thing I do kind of way, anything like that. I started making games for parties, for friends, for birthdays, all this kind of thing. And, kind of half-live roleplay, half kind of like mega game type thing. But I was really interested in the way people were kind of interacting together as, not as like groups, but interacting together as characters and all this kind of thing. And, also kind of what people enjoyed, what made a good game. Was it a good experience? Was it fun? All that kind of thing. Okay. I got into board games. My first board game is in kind of modern board game that I played, I think, was actually Doom, Fantasy Flight one. So minis heavy, turn-based movement characters, that kind of thing. And, I really liked it. Then I remember playing Fury Dracula second, and then Robo Rally, and then I don't know what I played after that because there was too many. But I was really kind of entranced with I don't know, just like the brain exploding idea of like, you have a meritocracy in your game. It's not like luck based. It's based on kind of, you can be good, and by being good, you'll win. And I love that. And the way that you have a sense of balance, or a notion of balance, and you have a system which is complex enough that you can do loads and loads and loads of different things with it. Yeah. It's not something that you can just map out and say, this is your strategy, you'll win. Blew my mind completely. Absolutely. At that time, I was doing, I kind of went back into uni as a mature student. So I was running like cinemas and doing kind of management type stuff. And I decided I didn't like it. I got fed up with it. It was too many hours and it destroyed relationships, and I wanted something a bit more, future proof. So I went to uni and, had to go at doing a maths degree.
Okay.
So that coincided with when I got into board games, and, that turned into something really, really weird, actually. The sort of maths I was doing wasn't like the practical maths, not the useful maths. Uh-huh. It was the completely useless maths.
All right.
Totally pure. All about kind of, I got really into cryptography and chromality proving and, that kind of side of things, but kind of how you can have sets and groups. And
so is it like kind of like the Good Will Hunting kind of Fields Medal kind of beautiful mind complicated maths type thing? Is that kind of how it was?
Well, if you kind of like scale it down by like a million levels, yeah, that kind of level. But because I wasn't really like amazing at it or anything. Yeah. But yeah, it's that. I mean, Fields Medal is for any kind of maths, really. But yeah, that's the sort of thing that Good Will Hunting was kind of using, if that makes sense. Okay. So totally useless, but doing it for the love, really doing it for the love, and really enjoying it, and just going a bit too deep into it, really. So and going deep into it through board games and through attempts to design games and looking at them as systems and yeah, that kind of side of it. And that's kind of when I first started, I would say, thinking about designing board games and how you go about it. Yeah, I then left uni. I got a job doing production management for an organic cosmetics company, and that showed me. And I really enjoyed it because that was all again about systems and about how people are interacting with the job that they have to do. And it was really, really mathsy. So this company, they're after like a biology, chemistry person. And I said, like, you need to have a maths kid because you don't know how much like most of the stuff costs to make even and all this kind of thing. So, I got really into that. And through that, I got a load of training in terms of project management and in terms of production management. And, so I did that for like 2.5 years. And then I just went, actually, no, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to make board games. So I quit it all and started Grublin. And that's where I kind of came from, really. Yeah. From like why I kind of thought I don't know, should be making board games, because that's probably a question people should ask.
Like Jurassic Park, whether you should or could be making board games.
You should, yeah. So I was playing Agricola and I was playing Le Havre, and I played them a lot, like really a lot. Like, I got really deep into, like analyzing them and pulling them apart and figuring out kind of why and what and all this kind of thing. And at some point I looked at the front cover and I just went, this doesn't look very good. And I couldn't get my head around how you can have these games, which I think are like the best things I've ever played at that point. And they could look the way they looked. And so I realized I could do a better job of that. I felt like I could do a fair job of a fair to good job, I think, of the design side of it, because I thought, well, I can just throw loads of maths at this, and that's kind of my approach, and I enjoy doing that, and that's what I do. So, yeah, that kind of turned into Cornish Smuggler. I really wanted to make a smuggling game. I wanted to make a game about where I come from and about the cultural history of it that doesn't involve like fucking surfing, or because that's not a cultural history of Cornwall. Cultural history of Cornwall is like smugglers, man. It's it's more like that. So smuggling, mining, fishing. 2 of those aren't really commercial, and smuggling it had to be. So I kind of set about making a game about smuggling, and so I researched the hell out of this, and kind of found myself in like kind of county records, looking at kind of those, and looking at church records, and stealing people's names without kind of any shame whatsoever, and trying to make something which was like as good a game as I could make it, and also as authentic as game as I could make it.
Okay.
And authentic to kind of what happened, but also to, I don't know, what I'm trying to say, I think, kind of about Cornwall and about where I come from and what the people are like. Because it's kind of this, like a really kind of beautifully rebellious kind of attitude down here, which I really dig. And yeah, I thought, let's put that in a game and see what we can do with it. So that was that.
Well, it is stunning looking game.
Yeah, got some really nice artwork sorted out. Got really good art direction kind of on the case, and hired really, really good illustrators and put it out there and see what would happen. And that's kind of where I started with Grublin, really. So
where did the name come from? And am I pronouncing
Grublin.
it right? Yeah. Is it Grublin or Grublin or you know? Just hoping I got it right.
The Games Expo guys, they they always mispronounce it, and I have to pull them up on it. And I see other games companies, there's like Gamelin Games, there's Goblin Games, there's all this kind of stuff, and it's kind of very kind of, I don't know, within that kind of world, I suppose. My reasoning behind it is completely bollocks, man. It's bad. I dreamt it. I'm not joking. I dreamt it. I woke up and I just went, oh, that's what the company's called. Cool. I don't know where it came from.
Really?
It's just some kind of weird, subconscious kind of splurge.
That's
that came
crazy.
out like that. It's nice. It works. It's cute. It's grubby. It's a little bit funny.
So there's not any kind of meaning behind it at all?
No, not really. I mean, it's literally... Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Well, I mean, that's fine.
Just dreamt it.
Well, I mean, it's... I just can't believe it's just came out of nowhere. That's pretty cool. I just hear of businesses having like branding exercises and stuff like that, and the logo just...
I did, I'm sorry. I mean, I've been thinking about it for a long time, so there's that whole kind of, I don't know, like you can't really kind of figure out kind of answers to big problems until you stop thinking about them thing, I suppose. But it's just the way my mind seems to work, I think.
When you just stop focusing on the problem and then all of a sudden it's like the solution just appears out of nowhere. You just be thinking of something
stuff
random.
Like that. It's like when you're doing the washing up or just like, I don't know, stepping on a bus or something. That's when you figure shit out.
Oh, dear.
Yeah.
Do you find you've got like quite a bit of a busy brain in general? Like, you know?
Yeah, I would say that's fairly true. Yeah, I think so.
Well, I mean, one of the things that everybody's kind of, we do ask people when they come on the show is stuff that they've kind of got to the table just now. I mean, is there anything that you guys have been kind of like playing away?
So, the most recent game that we as a group got, because we buy games as a group, and we've been playing a lot of, is the new High Frontier. And I really like that game because it's just like you can sink your way all the way into it and don't worry about where you're going to come out the other end. I mean, the other kind of thing that's kind of like that, I think, is like the XX games, which the problem with the XX games, I think, is you don't play anything else. You just play XX games. You meet XX games players, so like kind of 18, like 50, and all this kind of thing. So 18XX, and do you know what I mean? The train games.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna have a quick check on this on Google and see what
it's just got. I think it's got poor graphic design. I really like the game. I love the fact that you've actually got kind of orbital mechanics kind of put into a board game, and they've done it kind of like pretty well, I think. It's just not easy to play. It's not easy to get to start playing, and it's not easy to even figure out how you can not even win, just like do some of the stuff in it for a while. It's like a game
space type game then?
It's a space game. So you're a space company basically putting rockets into space to do different objectives, like get to the moon and kind of get to different planets and all this kind of thing. Have you played Kerbal Space Program?
No, I mean, I've heard of it. It's basically, it's a kind of like a space simulator game, and you have to plan your trajectory, but you also have to kind of like build and plan all the modules, everything from like how the thing looks to the different angles on the fins and the spoilers, and it goes like really, really deep into angling stuff like a couple of degrees here, a couple of degrees there, and you know, the slightest mistake and you can totally end up getting kind of like not only go in the wrong direction, but your rocket can end up like exploding into like 27 kind of million pieces, basically.
It's total like geek out, man. And it's beautiful. But yeah, that's what Kerbal's like. So yeah, wet mass, dry mass, all this kind of thing.
Okay.
High Frontier doesn't kind of go into quite so much detail, but it does go into a lot of detail. It's impressive how much they've done. It's just, so that's kind of that kind of thing, I suppose. So I like those kind of games. I like games I can really sink my teeth into and just forget about everything, because like games for me are, I don't know, like mental escapism really. And you've got the other side, which is just like kind of hanging out with your mates. I mean, yeah, that's what I like about games.
Yeah. I mean, your own game, Cornish Smuggler, I mean, it's a well-known game. It's a well-loved game by many people. It became like it's a big hit. I mean, it's sold a lot of copies. It's well known for and well loved for the kind of the artwork and the kind of the theme and everything like that. I mean, did you feel kind of established after the success of kind of Cornish Smuggler?
No, I mean, like, I don't know how to look at it. I was going through like a weird patch then. So like, from a sales point of view, yeah, really, really happy. I mean, we've sold thousands of copies of Cornish Smuggler. That's just really, really good stuff. From like a personal point of view, I went into this weird state where, I would go online and I'd go on Geek and I'd see like all this positive stuff and I'd just completely ignore it. And I'd just focus on the negative things. And I got so, I don't know, just tied up in, and I'd say to my friends, and they're just like, dude, like, come on, look, you've got all these people like shouting about it and saying how cool it is. And then you're focusing on this one person who's saying that they hate it and they've had a bad experience with it. And I'm just like, and at the time I was just like, I've ruined like their experience. They've had a shitty time and I feel terrible. And why have I ever made this? Because that kind of thing, which sounds like really trite, but
no. It's easy to get focused on that.
It's just imposter syndrome stuff. I mean, that's what it was, I think.
Well, I think once you get to a certain size, at the beginning, you mean people are usually really, really supportive anyway. There's very few people that'll come on and say, well, what you're doing is kind of bad, or they don't agree with it, or they just don't like it. But I think as you get bigger, you're always opening yourself to, I think you become a bit more self-conscious to the point that when you do get that first bit of feedback, and it just happens as your user base expands. I mean, it's the same with the podcast. I mean, we're kind of doing well and our name's getting out there, but at the same time, I'm kind of not looking forward, I guess, to the first time that somebody turns out and says, I don't like you, and I'm deciding to actually put my head above the parapet and say something about that. So I kind of totally get where you're kind of coming from with this. Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. I think like the hardest thing with like doing like Grublin and deciding to do it wasn't like starting it, and hasn't even actually been kind of like any particular thing in the middle. It's just been like figuring out how to manage like, I don't know, your expectations of it, I think, and your expectations of what other people's expectations are. So it's, figuring out how you're supposed to be able to, it's weird, man, because it's like, I've been doing this for like 4 years now. Grublin's been running for 4 years. And and haven't managed to kill the company yet, and haven't managed to spend everyone's money yet, and that's really, really cool. And we employ people, and we're cool employers, and we make cool stuff, and all the things that I wanted to right at the beginning when Grublin was started, we totally do it.
Yeah.
The weird thing is, like, yeah, this kind of, it's not like a fame thing, because that doesn't really exist. You're not famous enough. It's not like anything like that. I mean, you go to shows and you become like a mini celebrity for 3 days, and you're just like, wow, and then you come back and it's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make my own tea. But every other time, I mean, that's the closest to like kind of being famous I think you get from this. But like the rest of it is just kind of like, I don't know. I find it really, really weird dealing with how I'm supposed to be, or what I think is kind of cool to expect other people to have like an experience from the game. So if they have a good experience, is that okay? Am I allowed to enjoy that? If they have a bad experience, how am I supposed to feel about that? That's the weirdest thing. I don't know how to explain it any other way, I think, without just kind of using way too many words. So was it the case that when you did Cornish Smuggler, you went to Kickstarter, didn't you? Correct me if I'm wrong. I think that was the case. Yeah, we totally went to Kickstarter. So went to Kickstarter right at the beginning of, kind of, not at the beginning of Kickstarter, but pretty early in there. What did we raise? I think it was like 30 grand or so.
Let's have a check.
Oh.
Let's see. I'm going to see if we can...
Okay.
Right. Okay, where are we? I bet I can get it before...
Well, that's fair enough. I'll race you.
30,000.
Yeah, so raised that was amazing. That was incredible. Complete crazy high. And then used that money as match funding to get more money to produce a larger production run to make everything cheaper. And yeah, that's kind of where that started with Cornish Smuggler. So we produced way too many copies. And we produced, 7,500 with the first run. And then instantly was like so broke as a company. We like struggled for storage space. We were using people's garages, all this kind of thing, but it worked and it paid off. And the whole thing with Cornish Smuggler in terms of like who's actually going to buy this game. So originally I was kind of like, well, it's really for like enthusiast board gamers, but if it really doesn't work, then I'm pretty sure I could sell it to tourists. And I'm really happy because we haven't had to do that. So although we do stock throughout Cornwall, we don't make most of our sales through that. We make most of our sales through enthusiast shops in the UK and in Germany.
All right.
So yeah, that's Cornish Smuggler. Very happy with it.
Well, for people that haven't played Cornish Smuggler before, do you want to maybe give them a quick, like a breakdown?
Yeah, okay.
Like the quick 5 minutes or something like that.
I can do it in like 30 seconds, man. I'm so
really?
practiced at this.
Okay, well, okay, well, in that case, I'm gonna time you. Right, okay. You ready? 3, 2, go.
So it's a fully authentic game for 2 to 5 players about smuggling in 18th century Cornwall. You play as smugglers trying to get goods to take them into towns to sell them. Larger goods sell for more gold in larger towns. You'll build a network of smuggling characters who you'll employ and move the goods along there. You have customs officers who are non-playable, so customs will react automatically to what you do as smugglers. So as you move and sell and, I don't know, your goods, customs will react to this. The more gold you make, the stronger they get. Cornish Smuggler.
There you go.
How many was that?
That was about 26 seconds.
No way. Seriously, I thought it'd gone over already. Okay.
No.
I should have said more.
Well, you know, we can put it in the show notes. So, well, I mean, going forward, you've obviously Cornish Smuggler's been kickstarted successfully. You've kind of reached what you would call a great state because the game's in kind of like retailers' hands, which is, that's pretty much a pretty good dream, isn't it, to kind of fulfill?
I thought distribution was the dream.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, okay. Well, I mean, kind of getting it into kind of retailers' hands, you've obviously managed to kind of get it up the country, and I take it, have you got kind of many kind of copies left of Cornish Smuggler? Can you lay your hands on any? Are you completely kind of sold out at the moment?
We're completely sold out, and we have another production run which should be hitting the water in the next month. So we sold out Smuggler a little while ago, actually. So yeah, I think we might have like one or two which are on the site still in the office somewhere. But that's it. So yeah.
So have you ever been tempted to kind of like produce like a second edition? You know, I mean, are there actual things that, if you're given the chance, you would change about the original game?
Yeah. No, so there's loads of things that change. I mean, you're never happy with anything. It's like you're always like kind of seeing things and tweaking things and wanting to change things. So with this edition that's kind of in production at the moment, we've changed loads of things. So it's mainly changes to the rules of that because some of the cards have been kind of nixed, some of them have been buffed a little bit, and just because it's kind of been played so many times now, we kind of have this information. The big things for Cornish Smuggler. So in terms of illustration, none of the illustrations have changed. Love the illustrations, very happy with them. Yeah. Next year is going to be like the 5th year for Cornish Smuggler. So we'll have sold out of this production run around about March next year, I think. And Cornish Smuggler is... Actually, do I want to jinx it? Yeah, fuck it. So Cornish Smuggler is going to be in the new Tomb Raider film.
Really?
So Lara Croft is going to be playing Cornish Smuggler at some point.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
That's the thing, I don't want to jinx it, because like, what if it gets cut? Cause it's not like, it's not like a deal where we've paid money for this to happen. It's just like, because we've been searching licenses for films to attach to games. I think we just kind of got on someone's radar and they contacted us and just said, this is what we have to have and we really want to make this happen and would that be cool? And we were like, yeah, of course. So what I'd like to do is some kind of like, I don't know, 5-year anniversary edition of Cornish Smuggler, because there's like loads of stuff I want to do to this game. You can expand it all over the place. I've had rules and been testing rules for like having, so it's 2 to 5 players, to take it up to 6 players and down to 1 player. That's all fine and doable. To expand the game, to just add extra stuff and extra authenticity, because everything that happens in a game is stuff that people used to do 200 years ago. It's all real. And that's what I like about it the most. So the more of that I can make into it, I think that should happen. So that's where I'm at.
So have you thought, for the 5th year, kind of like completely up in the game, kind of bringing in, you know, shiny, nice, brilliant components, stuff, you know, I don't know, thicker cards, real components, you know, stuff that you would potentially see people kind of, I don't know, you could be sitting in your mansion, kind of playing away, you know.
Lara Croft in her mansion. I do not live in a mansion. Yeah, I think so. I think that can happen. Okay. So in terms of like, there's, everything can be upped. Everything can be upped. I mean, it's very nice as it is at the moment. So I wanted to, with Cornish Smuggler as it stands, I wanted to have everything made so it was stuff that you'd find 200 years ago. The art styles were styles that people used in 200 years ago. So like all the officials and mayors and all this kind of stuff that you can kind of subvert into your smuggling crew. They're all illustrated like a Hogarth thing, so they're all caricatures. All the tradespeople that you can get, they're all kind of like really gritty, detailed people, all this kind of stuff. So, everything had to be authentic. But if you're making things authentic, I mean, obviously I didn't have board games like that around, but there's no plastic in the whole game.
All right, okay.
So I'd have to break from that to do a deluxe thing. But I think it'd be worth it because the Smuggler's such a cool thing. I love it. Yeah.
Cool. So, after that, you went in a little bit more of a, well, you could say a completely different direction. And then you moved on to like, Waggle Dance, which is a stunning, looking game.
Yeah. Well, Waggle Dance, so what happened with Smuggler? So I spent like, I don't know, like a year and a half planning how Grublin would work as a company, and I just kind of went really detailed on it and came with like loads of scenarios and contingencies and all this kind of thing. And then we launched Smuggler, and everything went crazy, and I didn't have a chance to breathe, like, not literally, obviously, but didn't have a chance, just like, yeah. So didn't really have any time to do anything for ages, and like new game kind of development ideas and all this kind of thing I had, but I was like, no, I do Smuggler. We do like the third and fourth quarters of that year, of 2013 it was, and then I just stopped. I take like a month out. I can work on new game design. We can take it from there, which is such a joke, such a complete naive joke. So I had there's a group of so I'm part of, I don't know, loads of different gaming groups. So from like your weekly ones to monthly ones to the ones that meet bi-monthly and then quarterly and all this kind of thing. One of these groups meets up in Derby. There's like loads and loads of people. There's about 50 odd people now, I think. Yeah. And through that group, I met my friend Mike Nudd, who's the designer for Waggle Dance. And Mike had been like, Henry, I've got this thing to show you. And I was just like, dude, I'm really sorry. I'm just like totally stacked. I can't even think. And then at some point I got to look at it at Waggle Dance, played it. I took it over to my girlfriend's parents' place over in Ireland. We played through Waggle Dance a couple of times and just went, actually, this is quite good. This could work. And then went up to London, signed a contract with Mike, and then we made Waggle Dance. So yeah, cool. So from Waggle Dance was lush because Mike had already done so much work. So all the balancing, all the play testing, all this kind of thing he had down. The game was fast. It was deep. And thematically it worked because the whole bee thing. And the thing that really sold me on Waggle Dance was like the perversity of making a game with so many dice that you just like, no game deserves to have so many dice. Although now you have things like Dice Forge and so on. But the idea of like rolling all these bee dice in your hands and it kind of imagining like this could be like a swarm of bees that you have in your hands. I loved that. I really loved it. So we got rid of all the text in Waggle Dance completely, made the whole thing language independent, got some super cool, super cute artwork, which is a total disaster. Although it's brilliant artwork. The guy did it, a guy called Mateusz Schulich. We figured out of the whole world there was like 3 people who were the best at low polygon art, and Matt was one of them. So it's like, we have to have you. But from a commercial point of view, totally didn't work because Americans look at it and they just go, what is it, like an app? Germans get it, English get it. In France, they're just like, this doesn't work. It doesn't feel like a bee game. It wasn't bee enough. It needed to be more bee. So Waggle Dance went really, really well. So we kickstarted it. Kickstart was like real squeaky kind of parents thing. We weren't going to make it. And then suddenly we made it. And that was cool. That was very cool, actually. Made it. I made first run of Waggle Dance. We sold out in 3 months. If you're comparing us to like kind of CMON and all this kind of stuff, then it's not anything. But for us, it was a big deal. Yeah. And yes, we sold out. We made a new production run. I personally authorized making over 1.5 million dice into the world. Oh no, 1.25 million dice into the world, which is just obscene.
Really?
Yeah, totally. So press the button, yeah. So I was talking to different manufacturers and they're all just like, you can't do this. It doesn't work. It's going to cost too much money. So I went on Alibaba actually and just like figured out who does injection molding for like things and could they make dice, and then contacted a load of companies and sourced it ourselves and then managed to get it kind of on cost and okay really. So that was Waggle Dance. So yeah, we took it to the Games Expo. They were kind enough to they were kind enough to kind of award us the best family game for 2015, which again totally rocked our world. And we were able to sell loads more. And yeah, that was Waggle Dance. So super success, amazing, incredible. Learnt so much from Waggle Dance. Really, really happy to have made that game.
That's awesome. So have you thought about kind of doing like more reprints on that then?
So we've got, what have we got at the moment? We've got about 2,500 copies left to sell.
Right.
Out of the last print run, which was 10,000 copies. So that's not bad. So we try and kind of have like an 18-month turnover on print runs. Are we going to reprint? I don't know. Waggle Dance at the time was superb and amazing.
Yeah.
But I don't know, it's kind of like, I feel like we should be focusing on new games, not so much on, I don't know, on old games so much. So like, Waggle Dance is great, superb game, but I'm not sure it's like, compared to like other games that are out now, I think there's kind of too many similarities of things.
Okay.
So I think I'd like to just do something new, something different, something. Yeah, because if you're following other people, then what's the point? So
let
other people follow you. That's totally cool. It's a form of flattery.
So you move on from bees to metal dice. That was a bit of a change.
We did dice. We should have made a game. Shouldn't have done dice. Beautiful dice, gorgeous dice, amazing dice, dice the like of which you've never seen. Dice that are designed to inspire awe and terror in the people who are sharing your gaming table with you. But
they're lovely.
We should have made a game. We shouldn't have done dice. Terralith was like for the dice for Waggle Dance. I got freaked out that I didn't actually know anything about designing dice, so I contacted a lot of dice companies, so like Key Workshop and Chessix and all this kind of thing. And the biggest kind of bounce I got back was from a guy called Davide Vera, who runs a company called Iron Drake. It's an Italian company. I'd met him at Essen. He'd given me some free dice. That's all we'd had beforehand. So we met on Waggle Dance. We got on with each other. We started playing games online together, so we both realized that we were really into Mech Warrior, and Battletech and all that kind of thing. At some point, David went, well, like, I've got these dice I want to make. I don't know how to do it because we don't have any money as a company. And it's like, well, you could always like kickstart it, man. And see if that works. And so that kind of turned into him saying, well, I don't know how to sell it and all this kind of stuff. So we kind of decided to like team up and went over to Italy. Completely mad thing. Just like drop the hat. Just went, we'll go to Italy. I'll come over. Let's have a chat. As you do. I've never been to Italy before. First time in Germany was when I went to Essen. I mean,
might as well get out.
It was gorgeous. It was like, so he's from a place called Bergamo, which is kind of north-ish Italy. And the town was like Assassin's Creed, man. Just with slightly shorter towers. But everywhere you're looking, it's just like, whoa. And it's really, really narrow kind of streets and really high towers and all this gorgeous kind of like architecture and sculpture and all this kind of stuff everywhere, just kicking around. They've got so much of it. And
not thought of nicking some then, a little bit. Put it in your bag.
Not that anything. I think all the small stuff probably has already been taken. Actually, I mean, if that does exist, but it's really nice. Really gorgeous place actually. I like Italians. I'm quite happy with Italians. It's kind of different countries and kind of none of you can speak each other's language that well, but you can kind of give it a go. So, I quite liked it. And I like David a lot. And, so we decided to make Terralith, something really beautiful, something really different.
Oh, it's stunning.
And it went really well, but it's not what we do as a company. We should be making games. We shouldn't be making dice. So we have Terralith. Now we distribute Terralith throughout the UK, and Ireland. And we do okay with it. It's absolutely fine. But it shouldn't be our focus. So we should be making games because I think we're better at it. And, I think it's more fun and it's certainly more closer to what I want to be doing with myself. So, and that's kind of the important thing, isn't it?
So you moved from the crime of abandoning board games to then generating your own, say, let's, in fairness, perfect crime.
Yeah, cute.
Well, I mean, it
wasn't like abandoned board games. It's kind of like, at the time.
Henry, it was a segue.
I know, it's alright.
It's a segue.
it was a terrible, shocking crime. I'm so sorry.
Yes.
Please forgive me.
Good. Well, maybe. We don't know. But you did move from that into... I'm talking about your Kickstarter, aren't I? This is like a perfect opportunity.
I would say the perfect crime was yet to come, Richard.
Right. Enough. Right, let's talk about the game. I'm giving you perfect chance to talk about the game. That's hence why I moved from abandoning board games into talking about the perfect crime. I don't know why I bother.
No, I'm just slow, man. I'm not fast enough. Come on. I mean...
Right, okay. Well, we could always start again.
All right.
You went from abandoning board games to, which is a crime, to creating the perfect crime?
Yeah, perfect crime was the next...
So
part of the reason why Terralith happened was because my incredible, super plan of how everything's going to work, which turned to utter shit, because that's no plan survives enemy contact, and everything that we had to do, I was really arrogant when I was younger, I think. So long story short, we did Cornish Smuggler, we did Waggle Dance, and then for the next year, because you had to do a game a year, I didn't have a game. Seriously, I had kind of a game, but it wasn't good enough, and I wasn't happy with it. So I was making like a super villain thing. So you're building base, your super villains, you're building bases with traps and all this kind of stuff, and superheroes are coming in and trying to mess up your stuff and all that kind of thing. And I wasn't happy with it, and I didn't like it. And so the dice doing Terralith was also a little bit of breathing room for me, kind of mentally. So throughout that whole year, I was working on what would become Perfect Crime, and I don't know what each designer has a different way of doing things. My way of doing things is to just try and think of as many different ways of doing one thing and trying them all out and seeing what works best, and then moving on to the next thing and trying to think of as many different ways of doing that and then doing that. So with Perfect Crime, I wasn't happy with it was the superhero supervillain thing. I didn't like it. I really hated it. The game was kind of like a loosely kind of based tower defense type thing. And what I realized was actually I wanted to focus more heavily on that. And, again, I don't know where the idea came from. I just went, it has to be a heist thing. It has to be a heist game. And the second I went, it has to be a heist game, I just knew it had to be a heist game. With Cornish Smuggler, I really enjoyed I like researching stuff. I like kind of losing myself in Wikipedia, and really just kind of reading around a subject a lot. So with Cornish Smuggler, I really enjoyed the authenticity and the amount of authenticity we'd managed to get into the game, and I wanted to do this a Perfect Crime. So I spent a lot of time researching how to rob banks, and kind of listening to kind of seminars from DEF CONs and Hope conferences and all this kind of stuff, reading books about lockpicking and safe breaking and that kind of side of things.
Okay.
And also reading police reports on how people try to do heists and what works and what goes wrong. And that kind of turned, and also watching loads and loads of heist films, because what I realized was, I think one of the things that makes games enjoyable for players is the fact that they can get it really quickly. They know what kind of experience they're going to get from the game just by looking at the box. That's what I try and do. So, for all of us who have never actually kind of robbed banks and have no intention of robbing banks ever, we just kind of like the vicarious thrill of it. Our in on this is from watching bank robbery movies. So watching the shootout scene in Heat. That kind of thing, like the Dead President stuff. That is as real a bank heist as a real life bank heist. But people don't really get hurt. I mean, in real life, people get horribly hurt. But in films, it's always actors and film people. So it's not real. There's this level of kind of detachment. So I felt, well, let's see how much of this we can actually get in there. So not to make a game that is teaching how to rob banks. Definitely making a game that is, as edgy as we can. We had to take out legal advice on what we can actually put into Perfect Crime, what I can't put into Perfect Crime.
Seriously?
Yeah, totally. Because
like techniques and things.
So all the stuff that I was using was open source. It's just from researching the internet, but I don't want to get sued.
Right.
I really, really don't want to get sued. I mean, I'd love it if the Daily Mail somehow got a copy and went, "This game teaches you how to make rob banks," because I need to sell loads, we'd sell so many. But it's, I don't know, I don't want to get into that kind of place. And with Cornish Smuggler, where we're able to take, the kickstarting money as a proof of concept and then use that to generate more money to get a larger production run. That works really well. With Perfect Crime trying to do the same thing, and people are just like, but it's about robbing banks, you're taking the piss here. So,
you could just imagine the Daily Mail headlines kind of like, board game designer brings bank robbery into schools. Henry Jasper, 47, after bringing the crimes of smuggling in Cornwall and killer wasps, is now bringing teaching your kids how to rob banks in this vicious cardboard killer. Protect your children. Don't buy it. You could just imagine it. And I suppose you're right. If it sold a couple of copies, got the name out there, it'd be fantastic.
I mean, there's a lot of things that make me really, really happy. The game's definitely disruptive. I like that. It's definitely different from anything else that I've seen. It's very cool. Mechanically, it's asymmetrical. It's a semi-co-op in that, you have one person playing as the bank and the other people playing as robbers working together, but you can also play as a fully competitive game. So you can go completely deep into it, and have it as realistic as you want to make it, because the way the game plays is how heists actually work. So there's tower defense kind of stuff. There's, you hire different robbers to form a crew. You equip them with different stuff. And again, these are all equipment and techniques that real robbers actually use in films or in real life. And then you can scout out the bank, or you can just go straight into the bank. But at some point, you'll have to do a heist. And when you're going into the bank, you're leaving evidence behind you, which the bank can take, which gives them power ups, so they can power up their kind of types of security. They can use it to prematurely trigger the alarm, or they can use it to power up the police when the police arrive.
That's pretty cool.
One of the games I was really, really, really enjoyed at the beginning of kind of like learning about board games was Blockmania, Early Games Workshop stuff. So Early Games Workshop, brilliant. Late Games Workshop, too commercial. And in Blockmania, 2000 AD game, so you're just residents of a city block, and you're controlling that block, and it's all out war against all the other city blocks around you, and all you're trying to do is destroy each other. It's superb. The end of the game is when the judges rock up. When the judges rock up, everything stops, because they get riot foam out, and they're really powerful, all this kind of thing. So I wanted it with Perfect Crime to have the same sort of thing when the police turn up. So you can have the difference between just like a lone beat cop just kind of like wandering past and investigating a bank alarm going off to like a fully armed SWAT team going there. Right. And the thing that should change that and dictate how that happens is how the players decide to perform their heist. So if they're trying to stealth it, if they're trying to bribe people, if they're trying to subvert the guards, then they'll draw less attention to themselves than if they just storm in there and shoot everyone in the face. I think Perfect Crime, without a doubt, is the best game I've ever made in my entire life. It's incredible. We're running so late on this also, it should have been out. It was supposed to be out Christmas last year, and we took it to Essen, so we took it to the Games Expo. That was all great. Everyone loved it. Took it to Essen, everyone loved it even more. But I looked at it at Essen and I was just like, this can be better. It really can be better. So again, I don't know, a bit too arrogant maybe. Just said, look, I'm going to make it late. I want to do things to change it.
Yeah.
And also we were kind of like, our illustrator was kind of right up against it. We've got, 114 different illustrations in Perfect Crime. And they're all they're super cool. So the idea with the game is that the artwork fits the theme of the game as well as the mechanics fit in the theme of the game, and then the theme being reinforced with authenticity. So the artwork for this is all like graphic novel. It's gritty. It's noir. At the Games Expo, you have people coming up to us and say, "Isn't that one of like? Does this guy like illustrate for 2000 AD?" And it's like, no, he doesn't, but he should do because that's the style he goes for. So he was right up against it, and an Italian guy called Nick Ramo, very very talented. And he was kind of like working too much because he was doing 3 jobs and all this kind of thing. So I just like, everyone just chill out a second. Let's just give ourselves a bit more time and, delay Perfect Chrome. But the problem is Perfect Chrome is still delayed. Hasn't been finished yet. Well, it has been finished. But there's just kind of like, it's not in print yet. It's not in the water yet. So our rush as a company is to make it for Essen because we know how many we'll sell at Essen. Or we know how many we can sell at Essen. So, if we can get it just for Essen, ship all the Kickstarter copies out, give the other Kickstarter copies to people at Essen when we meet them in person, then we can sell. Then it's all gravy and everything's absolutely fine. But until then, I don't know, man, it's a lot of work. So, yeah, very happy, but working very hard.
I mean, I wouldn't feel guilty about it. I mean, Kickstarters kind of are delayed kind of all the time. In fact, I think you'd have to be a bit naive as a backer not to expect them to be a little bit delayed.
I don't feel guilty so much. I feel responsible, definitely.
Right.
So, okay. I don't know, kind of like when you kind of get emails from people and they're just kind of like raging and it's like, this is unacceptable, I can't believe you've done this. And, not that that's definitely a minority. The majority of people are just like, yeah, this is totally cool. I'm really happy with it. Don't worry about it. And just kind of keep on making it as good as you can.
So it was due like Christmas just there, yeah?
Yeah, Christmas just passed.
Well, that's nothing.
Yeah, it's not too late, right? I mean, it's not that bad.
No. Well, no. I mean,
I hope it isn't.
No, I mean, the simple fact of the matter is that backers kind of expect, as I said before, they kind of expect some kind of delay going forward. Mm-hmm. I mean, I was speaking to Aaron West from Elsra Games, and he just seems to have had one bit of misfortune after another. And so it's ended up with the release of the project being kind of delivered quite a little bit longer than that. So people are there to back you. They've kind of believed in what you can achieve and what you can deliver. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. I think backers, that's what they expect. They expect and they come to recognise there's kind of some kind of delays. So, it's...
I don't feel guilty. I feel responsible because I'm really aware that I'm playing with other people's money here and I'm playing with the trust that they've put in me to make something which is like as completely kick-ass as I can make it. And that's what Perfect Crime is. I mean, but it's just late. And that's kind of the thing. So I feel...
Well, I think that they've seen the other projects that you've done. They're aware that you've not, this is the third one that you've done. So they've got they've obviously got the confidence in you to kind of deliver. I mean, what's the actual kind of timescale for having everything kind of finished off at the printers and, ready to go and kind of, I guess, getting it ready to have it in people's hands?
Probably a couple of days before we leave for Essen. I think that's how close it'll be.
That's pretty close.
Well, no, I mean, there's two options. So either we print in Asia or we print in Europe. If we print in Europe, our lead times are totally, totally different. But it costs more. And because Perfect Crime is running so late and because we've sunk a lot of money into Cornish Smuggler, we don't really have too much wiggle room to play with. But we do have some. But it's just like less ideal, really. The business side of kind of like running board games, running a board game publishing company is very, very different from the design side. It's interesting that, I think. But worst case scenario would be printing in Europe and making it happen that way. But we've still got plenty of time for that. So if we were to go down that route, we would be able to have it way before Essen. Wouldn't be that much of an issue. If we go from the Asian route, then we will ship separately to Essen as well as shipping So we ship the bulk of it to the UK, to the office, and we'll distribute from there.
Okay.
And then we send like a pallet or two over to us also, and do it like that.
So you are you a bit secretly excited about getting the feedback when people are kind of opening it and kind of getting their hands in it and playing Perfect Crime for the first time then?
Yeah, man, I'm not even secretly excited. I'm totally stoked about it. I know, because like, I don't know, the benefit of like kind of taking so long is you're still playing it. I mean, nothing changes. You're still like trying to kind of like convince playtest groups who've already seen this game like 20 times to just give it another go. Come on, it's a bit different. Perhaps we can try this, and they're just like, fuck's sake, man, leave it alone, give me another game. But I know I know kind of what people's reaction to this game is. I am seeing it at like the expo, demoed it solidly for 3 days. We had no downtime whatsoever. And it was just solid demo after demo after demo. And normally with the playtesting, I'm not there because it's not useful to have the designer there for the whole thing. So I'm actually, with all the playtests that have been happening, it's like I'm not even involved. I just kind of hear about it afterwards, or I watch a video of it, or however. But at the expo, it's like I can see it firsthand, face to face. I can see like the jokes that people are coming up with, and it's kind of like the number of groups that like, you already had one job, and it's kind of like all this kind of stuff. So I know that it works. I know that it works. I'm not even worried about it. It's not an issue for me. I know it'll be. Yeah, I know it'll be ace. So yeah, that's cool.
So have you designed it with kind of a lot of replayability in terms of the different teams you can play then?
Yeah, you can totally do that. So we've got different cruiser robbers that you can play with. So the base game comes with how many different cruisers? So you've got corrupt cops, you've got ex-service personnel, you've got gentlemen robbers, and you've got mobsters. So there's 4. There's a promo crew of hackers, which we've produced for everyone who pre-ordered a copy and for Kickstarters as well. But in terms of kind of making more crews, there's more ways that can happen, more differences that I can put on the different crews. So like, the ex-service guys are like really heavy, whereas like the gentlemen robbers are, kind of like much sneakier, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's a lot more multidimensional than that. And there's more differences that can be put in. There's more real world stuff that can be put in. There's more techniques for robbing banks that can be put in. There's more ways the bank can be expanded. There's way more things that the bank player can be doing. In terms of like the people they're hiring. There's lots and lots and lots of ways the Perfect Crime can be taken. So if everything does go according to plan, and the game is a huge success critically and commercially, as I think it really will be, then yeah, for sure we'll be doing expansions, man, because like it adds to the game, it makes it better. With X-Wing, so I don't know if you're an X-Wing player or not.
Yeah,
I'm not an X-Wing. Yeah. I'm not an X-Wing player, partly because I don't have partly because I don't have the money for all the ships. It's partly because I don't have the time to just be playing one game. But when I do play X-Wing, it's great. Now, the reason I mentioned the money thing is because Fantasy Flight obviously have a license for Star Wars, and they've got it for, I don't know, however long it is, like 3 years, 4 years. And so they want to get as much out there as they possibly can in that time, not partly because they make more money from it, but I think from like the coolness of the game and adding to the hobby and adding to the industry, and making better games, basically, which is what we should all be doing. X-Wing becomes a better game by having all this extra stuff that you can do with it, and all these different ways that you can take it, and all these different ways you can play it. So I think that makes games better, personally. I mean, yeah, as designers, as publishers, we should all be focusing on what can we do to make things better, not what can we do that will definitely make money, or is kind of like, we know that people are really into this, so let's make more of this. New things, different things, inventive things. That's what I think is so cool about this. The board game industry is young enough, and by this I mean like, we're talking modern board games. I'm not talking like old board games. We're talking about kind of the way our toys have become more and more sophisticated and more engaging and just better designed. That's what we should be adding to. I think Perfect Crime definitely adds to it.
And what's your thoughts on this? There's a little trend at the moment for games to have kind of like companion apps. Get everything from kind of like mini guides to soundboards and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Have you had any kind of thoughts about kind of going that way with Perfect Crime at all, or is it something you're kind of steering clear from?
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, yeah, I like that kind of stuff. I like soundboards, and that's all cool. With Perfect Crime, if it's going into app land, and there's I don't know, we've got 4 companies at the moment who really want to do it, and I've been putting all this off. I've been putting off everything. So I've been putting off kind of sub-licensing, I've been putting off distribution until it's just finished, because for me there's no point talking about this kind of stuff until the game actually exists.
Yeah, okay.
But from an app point of view, the way it would work is it'd just be, you'd be able to play the game, but you'd be able to play multiplayer with people. It wouldn't be a companion thing. If we were going to app it, then we'd app it so that the game can be played on your phone. Just the tablet on your phone. So yeah, if we did that, seriously, it's like, I don't know, we haven't done app stuff beforehand. I mean, I've always been kind of scared of it because, like, how do you market it? There's so many apps out there. Like, how can you actually kind of get to the point where your app is actually known? And then suddenly you're thinking about, well, you're using the board game as like an advert for the app, or like, what's going on with that? I don't know. It's kind of, it doesn't feel like, it feels like suddenly we're kind of like losing the purity of what we're doing. Although that kind of probably sounds a bit too up my ass also.
No, I can see that. No, I mean, you're right. I've heard people that have actually said they just wouldn't go near kind of any other app at the same time. But on the other side, I've seen things like, say, the companion app for like Descent, that works like really, really well.
Well, it does. I mean,
yeah. So so people can actually play alongside like a single player campaign by themselves, or they can play alongside other people without one person having to sacrifice and be like the kind of like the dungeon master, basically. I don't know. It's one of these things that it's not kind of being grabbed by everybody. It's like when legacy games came out. I mean, you don't see every single game now as a kind of like a legacy game, and I think it's going to be the same with the apps. That it'll turn up as kind of like appropriate.
Okay.
When it's kind of like when it can add a little bit of extra difference or kind of value to the game. But moving onwards, obviously you've got you've Cornish Smugglers cracking on. Waggle Dance is doing its own thing. Perfect Crime is going to be out there. I mean, looking to the future, are you like other designers? Because you said earlier on you've got quite a busy mind. So do you have like, say, other projects that you're kind of getting to the table, or do you just have the odd kind of 9 or 15 or 10 or 7 that you're kind of steadily working away on in the background? Okay. Well,
yeah, so I'm currently working on like 8 games at the moment.
Okay.
But no, wait a sec. So I'm working on Perfect Crime at the moment. Right now, it has to be Perfect Crime, and it will be for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And solidly just that. But in terms of games done, I think it's like, so like kind of, for me, my process, I mean, like, I do best like having stuff like ticking over in the back of my brain, and then at some point it'll just pop out and it'll be like, yeah, that's how it works. So in terms of the games that I'm working on at the moment, I'm really happy with them. They're coming along quite nicely. But I'm not expecting anything kind of like soon. as a company, it's a different deal because we have to be kind of like releasing stuff like at least once a year. So this next 18 months, the first time in the company we've actually got product release sorted for this whole 18-month period. So we've got 3 games we're going to be bringing out.
Cool.
I totally can't talk about them right now, but I will talk about them once Perfect Crime's out. And
not even just like a little snippet?
If that makes sense. No, seriously.
Oh.
I spoke to Rosie about this beforehand. She's like, no, you fucking can't. I was like, okay, fine, just leave it.
That's so bad.
No, that's the way it is.
Henry, that's so bad.
So,
no exclusive
I'm
then.
very, very happy.
Right.
And
so what it is, it's like, oh, here's 3 new games that we're not going to tell you about.
Well, okay, well, look, let me swing this the other way. So Rosie's argument, and I think she's kind of got something on it, is like,
okay,
we shouldn't be kind of like saying stuff until we actually kind of really, really publicly say it. So we do like press releases, we've got artwork up on Board Game Geek, we've got like kind of intro teaser videos, all this kind of stuff. We shouldn't say anything until we're at that point, because what you were saying about themes, and I mean, like, kind of games sell in the UK. We buy games predominantly if they have a TV or film license attached to them, because that's what we do.
Yeah.
In America, it's a similar deal. In Germany, it's a similar deal, but it's a little bit different. If we're making games which don't have TV or film licenses attached to them because they're too expensive, it doesn't work with the game, it's cross commercialization, whatever, then we shouldn't do anything, because someone else, another company, can come out. I'm not saying that they'd like copy our idea, but they'd copy. It's, you know, there's a word for this. It's like the whole thing of like 2 separate teams of people working on like DNA at the same time. And it's not that they're kind of like doing anything weird or anything like that. It's just that's what's in the zeitgeist. So that's what's in the public consciousness. And so that's what people are thinking of. And I think kind of it's something which we, as a publisher, we should just kind of like, I don't know, come up with some kind of like policy on it. That's the word.
Okay.
On how we do this. And at the moment we don't have a policy on it because we've never been in this place where we've kind of planned ahead. So, well, not that we haven't tried to plan ahead, it's just other things have always come up. So we do have 3 amazing fabulous games, which we'll be releasing over the next 18 months, but I can't talk about them.
You're just absolutely...
I'm sorry, man.
No, you're just absolutely so just killing me.
It's shit, it's disappointing. I can tell you're disappointed.
I am very, very disappointed. I have got a sad face.
I can tell you privately, I mean, but just like, cause it's some... Oh.
Well, okay, you can always just come back on then. I mean, and then don't tell me, just gives me an excuse to get you back on the show again, really.
Okay, well, I'm happy to come on anytime you want me on, that's fine.
And you would be more than welcome to come on, because this has been, it's been a lot of fun. And it's been, I've had a really, really good time, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, one of the things that we have to do is, well, basically, if people want to keep an eye on what you're going to be up to, keep an eye on what's going to be happening with the Cornish Smuggler.
Yeah, fair enough.
And keep an eye on the fabulous, really, really interesting looking Perfect Crime. Let's be honest about it.
Okay, I'm flattered already. I mean...
okay. Where's the best place to find you? Where can they find you on the interweb nets?
Yeah, okay. So Twitter's probably where we're most active, I would say. So our Twitter account is Grublin Games. We have a lovely website, which is grublin.com. And we're on Facebook, obviously, again, Grublin Games, and we're on Board Game Geek. Just like check out any of our games or type in Grublin Games again. But most active on Twitter, I would say. We find it easiest. We're like a super small team, man. So it's very easy for things to get dropped because we suddenly have to focus on something else. So, that's where it's at.
Cool. Okay. Well, as normal, what we will do is that we will make sure that these all go in the show notes so that we have notes to show.
Yeah, cool. Okay.
And are you guys on Instagram at all?
I don't think we are. Rosie might have put us on there. I don't think.
Yeah, well, I'm kind of really not sure. We're on Instagram, you see, and
well, it's a Reddit thing, isn't it? So yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like I put up a kind of like a picture of Hero Quest, and all of a sudden I get like lots and lots of people, kind of that I don't really know, kind of like pressing it and liking it and following us on it.
Hero Quest is ace. I agree with you.
Yeah, I know it is ace.
I would like that picture. I mean, because I like Hero Quest.
Well, a lot of people have liked it, so. But it still obviously completely confuses me as to why. As to other places, you can find us if you go to Google and you search for We're Not Wizards. So we are on Twitter at We're Not Wizards, Facebook at We're Not Wizards. You can email us, magic@we'renotwizards.com. We are on YouTube as well, because our lovely hosts, our podcast host Podbean, automatically put our episodes onto YouTube. So we don't have one of those fancy URLs, but you can definitely find us if you do a search. We're also on the usual kind of Stitcher and Spreaker and all these other kind of fabulous places. You can also find us on iTunes as well. And as we always say, if you like what you've heard, then drop us a subscription or a review. If you drop us a review, don't give us a 10 because that'll make us big-headed, and don't give us a 1 because that'll make us cry. Give us like a 5, like something in the middle, because, well, you know, it's average, and we are decidedly average. But someone who has not been average tonight is the rather fantastic, the rather wonderful, the rather crime-focused Mr. Henry Jasper from Grublin Games.
You know that, like, my head's already fat enough. I mean, I don't need any more. It's fine.
Well, no, I just want to wish you best of luck with getting the printing all done before Essen, and I hope it all works out for you. Obviously, there's the other possibility that you might just end up using all this research on bank robberies and being pretty much put it to good use.
Yeah. Well, it'll be a publicity stunt, so
and finally, there's only 2 more things to do. The first thing is, of course, and as always, is to remember that we are many things, but we're not wizards. Are we wizards, Henry?
Well, we're not wizards, but I do like that whole kind of like you know, like that Star Trek thing of like the races in Star Trek are different kind of like races in the world. So like the Vulcans are supposed to be the Japanese and that kind of thing. And I like the Tolkien analogy of like people are either like humans or hobbits or wizards or elves or anything like that. So I don't know. Maybe I'm not a wizard. I know that I'm a dwarf. But maybe somewhere along there, some people, you can be wizards.
Let's hope.
Well, dwarves are solid and they make stuff, and that's good for the soul. So
yeah, well, that's cool. Excellent. And it's and the other thing is to say goodbye. So it is goodbye from the, as I said, the rather wonderful, the rather amazing, the rather fantastic, the rather interesting Mr. Henry Jasper. Say goodbye, Henry.
Yeah, goodbye, Henry. Richard, thank you so much for having me on, man. It's it's been so nice. It's just like chilled. It's like it's like what you were saying at the beginning. It's a conversation. It's not like a cell thing and
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just all about, as I said, it's kind of like just getting together, no pressure, no questions, just a good old chat between a couple of people, and it's certainly been a lot of good fun. So one last time, say goodbye, Henry.
Goodbye, Henry.
And it's a goodbye from me. Remember, stay safe, roll 6s, do a bit of smuggling down at Cornwall, go and check out Waggle Dance, and finally think about planning a heist and getting it together and putting together that perfect crime, because it looks like it might be something rather special indeed. But until the next time, goodbye.